Hello everyone, welcome to Vassals of Kingsgrave. I'm Vikram, I go by as fortytwo on the forums, and joining me this week are Zach.
Hey guys, this is Alias in the forums.
Oh crap, I forgot to do Zach the friendly, Zach the defiler, Zach the humiliator, and all that stuff.
Of course.
And Brett. Brett, what do you want to be?
Um, I don't know, the ugly.
That is actually one of them. You can get an orc with the name Ugly Face, and their face is very ugly. It lives up to that expectation.
And if you guessed it, this week we are gonna review and discuss Monolith's Shadow of Mordor. I'm sorry, Monolith's Middle Earth Shadow of Mordor. Uh, if you want to be accurate, and there's only one shadow that's not shadows. I'm told that's important. So guys, how do you like this game? How long have you been playing it for?
I put in, I would say like 23 or so hours. That's my estimate. The number I have on Steam isn't right because I've left it on without playing it. But yeah, great game. I mean, when I heard about this game at first, I was not terribly excited. It sounded like it was going to be just another kind of attempt at taking a popular franchise and putting it into the mold of the kind of tried and true Assassin's Creed Batman Arkham model, which is to be fair, a pretty fun kind of style of game. I like the Batman games a lot. Maybe not so much for Assassin's Creed, but that is a good solid game type. But I didn't think it'd be doing anything remarkable or anything worth necessarily putting a lot of time into it. But I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, this game, I think, has some amazing combat. I think the port for PC is a lot better than I expected, which was nice. And there's, of course, the Nemesis system, which I think put it on a whole nother level.
Brett?
Um, well, I really like the game. I enjoy a lot of the aspects of it. I was pleasantly surprised. Like usually when these games come out that are just like another Lord of the Rings game or another Star Wars game, you're like, well, is it going to be any good or are they just trying to cash in on the name? And I think they actually put a lot of thought into it and did a good job in making it.
Yeah, I mean, this game kind of snuck up on me too. No hype or anything. I think everybody is surprised, all the reviewers and everybody too, on how good the game is. And it's not surprising, right? I mean, not surprising in the sense that it was surprising. Okay, I'm surprised. I'm confused on what level of surprise I'm on now. Anyways, but I mean, Monolith was a decent studio, and I remember playing their Matrix Online game, and actually the Matrix Online game had that slow-mo thing going for it too. I had the slow-mo bullet time thing like in Max Payne also. Now that I think about it, the arrow shots are from that game. But anyways, I mean I played their one of their earlier games before and was pretty good, but the studio seemed to have fallen into hard times or something. I mean, the last few games haven't been that good, and usually a Lord of the Ring game is never good, right? I mean, I don't remember playing any decent Lord of the Ring game.
I like all of them to different levels. I just like the world, so I enjoy playing a lot of them. But yeah, the last one I had was like Conquest or something like that, and it was
Yeah, I
just
played
very
that one.
generic fighting, and it was just basically you just ran at people and swung your sword until
Yeah.
they died, and that was it. It was just
That game
kind of
was
what this one
hilariously
is.
generic. It was basically you go into places in the movies and you fight. And it kind of it was like a Battlefield or a Battlefront 2 kind of style of gameplay, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, and I
But
mean
yeah.
I beat the whole game and played it all the way through, so it
And you
was
and you get
kind
to
of
play
fun.
as like the evil team and kill all the hobbits. That was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm sure all
But
of us wanted to do that at one point.
It was worth probably I don't know $10 I'd say. I
yeah, I
paid
mean,
like 40 for it, so I think I overpaid.
yeah, Mordor for me is in many ways the best Lord of the Rings game I've played. I haven't played a ton. I haven't played like any of the RTS ones, but this one was far and away the best for me.
Yeah, I think I remember playing an RTS version a long, long time ago. I don't even remember the game now, but they had really good campaign missions. Like one campaign was Hell's Deep, and then the other one was the Battle for Minas Tirith. So they were, and
Battle
they
for
did
Middle Earth.
Battle
Yeah,
for.
well, that's the name of the game.
That's the name
Yeah.
of the game, yeah, because that, yeah, they did it exactly like the movies, use the same some of the assets and everything. So it was really cool to be you being the commander now and directing your archers and stuff like that. But yeah, apart from that, I don't remember any. Actually, I don't even remember trying any other Lord of the Rings games, and usually the reviews have been pretty bad. Like for
Th-
example, Monolith, the Guardians of Middle Earth.
I think
Uh,
that was just like a crappy little side game. It almost seemed like an app for an iPod game.
Yeah,
I didn't play it.
and on Metacritic it got like 56%. So going from that to this is like shocking. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry, I meant surprising.
they had a RPG too a little while back for the PlayStation 3, I think, and it wasn't great. It basically is like, here's the movie and you're right beside it. Trust us.
I'm sure the good ones were like the Lego Lord of the Rings ones.
I never played those. I don't
I
know.
don't know. I haven't played with
Yeah.
myself, but it sounds fun.
Those are good. I've played a little bit of those. I mean, the Lego games in general are really fun, especially if you like play with like young kids and stuff. That's really what it's made for, and they're really funny, and they kind of parody the movies and stuff like that. So that's a good option too.
So, have you guys played the other games in this genre, like Assassin's Creeds and Batman Gotham City, Arkham City, sorry, Arkham Asylum? No, Arkham City. Yeah, Arkham City.
I've played Assassin's Creed, a couple different ones, and I enjoy them. I've never played Batman though, so I can't speak to that.
I've played every Assassin's Creed game, but I've never beaten a single one. I've put in various degrees of play into some, and I've played them kind of like co-op with other people, and I've not been there for the whole time, so they beat the majority of it while I came in for like the end and stuff.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too much of a fan of those. I think the gameplay is fine, but I never really was into that series. Whereas I really love the Batman games. I haven't beaten them all, but I've put a fair amount of time into the most recent two, and I beat Arkham Asylum, excuse me. And those games are great. I mean, the stealth gameplay, the pure combat, the whole idea of it is just really fun. I think it's a great sort of modern trend to have this brawler type game, and I'm glad that the Shadows of Mordor really lived up to that and didn't just or it did a good job of paying homage to that system and doing a really good job with that system, but also doing some new stuff on its own too.
That's so true. Yeah, I think I tried Assassin's Creed 1 once, and I think I lasted only for a couple of hours before I quit. Same thing with Batman Arkham City. I'd never tried Arkham Asylum. It's here, but I don't know why I did not go back to it. I think I tried it for a couple of hours too. But this game is so good. I don't know. Maybe it's the world. I think the Lord of the Rings setting is a lot more interesting for me than the other ones were.
And
Um,
Batman? No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, I don't know. I think Batman's just overdone, a bit
Fair
saturated
enough.
for me.
Batman's overdone, and they just make 3-hour Hobbit movies.
But they do it once every 10 years, right? So it's fine. Oh, once every
Okay.
20 years now.
I think there's. Yeah, okay, because you got to count all the other old Batman movies. That
Yeah. Yeah, maybe if
But
they put out a Batman movie once every 10 years, I wouldn't have minded.
I do love the way this game moves. Like it's so smooth when you're in the fighting mode that I was super impressed. And with all the different finishing moves and like kills, it's quite impressive that they have all the different movements and it looks smooth and good.
Definitely, I think one of the things that annoyed me about the original Assassin's Creed, and I'm sure now the modern Assassin's Creed games, I think 6 is gonna come out, Unity. I'm sure that's all fixed in those, but
I
the
think it's
camera
technically a
just
seven, actually.
yeah, the camera just keeps toggling for me. The camera acted weird. Usually when I'm climbing the wall and suddenly the camera flips on to the back. Now the front is back is front, and things like that happen. But this game never had any of those issues. The controls, the contextual controls, like you press the same button if you want to sprint or climb a wall. There are some cases where wait, no, I'm not sprinting into the wall. I want to climb the wall. But most of the time the controls just work.
I think Assassin's Creed had a little bit better like free running and climbing, but I like the battling in this game better. Assassin's Creed is more like you just sit back and play defense, wait for them to attack and kill them. And in this one you like have to go on the offensive
I'm
to
not imagining, right? That's the thing, right? Yeah, I mean, I played Assassin's Creed so long ago. I don't remember the combat being this good, this fun.
it hasn't been in the games that I've played of Assassin's Creed. I like how this one is very like you just go at him and start attacking, and your guy will kind of adjust to who he's attacking depending on who you're
Yeah.
near, which makes it almost too easy, but it's fun.
To be honest, the comparison to the Batman games is much more apt in the way the combat works,
Is
and I
it?
think that it's actually someone I think said, or I read something that this game was actually originally built to be a Batman game, but
I
then
heard that also. Yeah, yeah. You
yeah,
can
but
have different nemesis. It could be the Joker's crew or something and all that.
but it ended up being obviously the Lord of the Rings, and it's very much like that game. Those type of games, the combat is very good with like the kind of the counter system, the way that you move between enemies and strike toward enemies. It's all very fluid and very nice, and it doesn't feel awkward or clunky in any way. But I think what makes this game's combat better is the bow system. I really like the bow. It's so OP though. It's probably
Yeah, especially after you get the Shadow Strike thing. It's like that's my favorite way
well,
of traveling.
yeah, the Shadow Strike is so fun, but even without that, just when you get a lot of elf shot up and you have a lot of focus, you can like kill like 20 mobs before they or 20 guys before they can do anything to you.
Oh, I'm not that good. I
I
usually
guess I
kill
haven't got that
three.
good either because I really hate the bow system. Like from the beginning, it's like, ah, come on, I can't. I don't like that I can see people even though I can't shoot them because you can like see through walls.
All right, with the weird Wraith World thing, that can be annoying.
Yeah, I just I don't know. I think I feel like it's getting better. Like it's already started to get better when I've done like just the bow missions.
Mm.
But when I first started, I was like, this bow thing is terrible. Why would anybody want to do this when you just walk up behind them and kill them?
Yeah, I mean, now that I have combat drain, I can heal in battle more easily. But before that, I kind of spec the runes up so that I get health from headshots, and that's why only in battles I dip into bow mode was to get some headshots, get some health a bit, so I can continue fighting.
Yeah, it's funny how much easier the game gets as you go. I mean, when you start, it really is a rough time when you get in these huge fights with like 30 orcs and or captains keep showing up like one after the
Right?
other. I had
And
plenty of those where I was fighting like 7 captains and I
You
just could
just need
not
to
get anything
run.
done. Yeah, at that
yeah,
point, it
yeah,
is like that. But eventually you get to a point where you have so much good stuff, like the thing where it lets you like execute 2 enemies after a combo instead of one, or
Hmm.
the lots of elf shot where you can kill like 10 guys with your focus before they can respond. That it doesn't matter what situation you're in, you have so much power that you can fight your way out of anything.
You're like, now I see why Aragorn was so awesome.
Yeah.
and Legolas too. That's what he was doing. He was using focus and elf shots. But yeah, that's so true. I mean, when the game starts off, all they give you is ground execution, right? And ground execution takes like 10 minutes to
Right,
execute.
and there's an upgrade you get that makes it so much faster, that makes it so much
Yeah, but
easier.
that comes later.
Because
Yeah,
with the original ground shot, the problem is that it takes so long that you don't have time to do it before someone comes behind you and stops it.
Right.
and you don't have execution too and all that. And I think yeah, my arch nemesis is this orc called Bafor Grogcatcher, and one of his strengths was ambush. So he always shows up when I'm doing something else, something randomly. I'm collecting a herb and he shows up. Ah, I'm gonna get you. I'm fighting a random orc grunt and he shows up. I'm gonna get you. And I died to him so many times that he leveled up to level 20.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it just happened like within the first few hours of the game too. But eventually I got him down, and now it's sad. Now there's no orc that's that difficult for me.
Right. I think that the system does get weaker as a part of the fact that you can't really die at a certain point. It's much harder for you to get killed, and you kind of build that whole cool Nemesis thing early on where things are actually really difficult and you're going to be dying and you're going to have people getting promoted off your death. And that story is building. And that is where the system really shines, I think. But I also like later where you kind of get the brand thing and you can start taking control, and that process of helping your orcs rise to power and building this gigantic army of people that you control. I think
I'm really
that's the
excited
second
about
half for me.
that. I haven't got that far yet, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and I was kind of not too keen on using brand because I thought then what am I going to do after the game's done? But then I bought the season pass thing, and that unlocks something called Trials of War, and there are different settings for it, like achievements for it. I mean, or objectives for it. I mean, like kill one war chief and 5 captains, or kill 5 war chiefs and 20 captains, and it resets up. What's Udin? That's the first zone called Udin or
Udun.
Udun. It resets up Udun, resets everything. Now you have access to, and then you can go redo again. So if you wanna like the game and you wanna just kill captains and war chiefs, you can do that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to branding and all that stuff too. The Sea of Neuron does get a bit hard. Now I'm running into war chiefs that don't let me stun them, that don't let me jump over the shields, are pretty much immune to everything. So it is kind of getting a bit more tough, like for how it was at the start of the game.
The trick is to get the sword special, excuse me. And with that, you can just keep doing executes over and over again, and they can't block that.
I
Yeah.
love the executions in the game though. Like some of them are so over the top, but I love it. Like I really don't understand why you need to put your sword through a guy's face and then cut his head off, but I'm for it. I enjoy it.
Okay, so let's talk about the Nemesis system. It's awesome, right? Every grunt is kind of different, kind of unique. And I did not understand. I thought only the war chiefs leveled up or the war chiefs were unique. And I did not notice it until a grunt killed me. And that guy went from Grisha to Grisha, the cruel, the saddest. And he got his own armor. Wait a minute, all these orcs that are running around, they have the potential to be a war chief?
Yeah, and they all have like unique look to them, which I think is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I'm now 20. Now I'm also about 25 hours into the game, and now it's starting to get repetitive. Now I'm seeing duplicates again, but it took it so long for it to show duplicates. So that's a lot of depth in the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's so cool that just the idea that a random enemy that is just a guy that doesn't matter can kill you and become something totally unique to your experience is so awesome. I love that idea, and I think they did an amazing job with it. There are bad things. I mean, it's not perfect. I mean, like you say, it does get repetitive after a while, and it's clear to you. It can become clear to you that none of it really matters. I mean, like they're all going to be these randomly generated orcs, but especially early on, I was really feeling that sense of I had this set of guys that had this gripe with me, and I had to deal with them. And
And they talk shit to you.
yeah, I love that. That's a great thing too. That they remember all the past encounters. They have some kind of flavor dialogue for that. It's great. It's really well designed. It's not. It does a great job with very little, I think.
Mm.
It's pretty. It's not a hugely intensely involved system that require like a lot of different reactions like that would probably be impossible to make. It makes something interesting out of just these procedurally generated guys, and I think that that's very clever and very effective.
It's surprising how even though the game is kind of basic, they like centered on how like the fun parts, and they're like, look how awesome this can be, and it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot to the game. Like it's not super complex, but it's fun to play, and it seems to adapt as you're playing it, which is fun.
Definitely, I think the without the Nemesis system, this game will be the reviews for this game would have been totally different, and that's what's going to happen because I think the game's going to eventually come on to Xbox 360 and then PlayStation 3, and it's not going to have the Nemesis system.
Right.
So I don't know how it's going to be. Is it just going to be some pre-canned orcs then?
Probably,
Because
yeah.
then when a grunt kills you, because a grunt has to be, I don't know how is it going to work then, because then it's going to be like Destiny.
Yeah, I don't know
God
how it's gonna
forbid.
work. Maybe it's just they don't keep track of whether they've seen you or not. They're just randomly generated orcs that don't have anything to do with you. You know, like how like if you meet one and you run away before you die and you come back to him, he's like, "Oh, here's that coward that ran away." And they probably just won't do that in that system. They'll just be a general orc that says the same thing every time you see him.
I think after BioWare's, the dialogue choice thing that happened in Old Republic, or yeah, Old Republic, yeah, Old Republic,
Yep.
the first ones. This is the biggest other gaming development thing I think I've found. Like wow, this is awesome. This feature is so unique and so new, and I hope it becomes a staple in everything Monolith does from now on.
It'll be interesting to see how it evolves in the future because I think this system it's very hit or miss. I think it could be really bad really quick to have these procedurally generated enemies that don't have a lot of I don't know like man-made quality to them. That's the weakness is that they're made by a computer, so they can become repetitive. It's not repetitive in this game for the most part, but I think that if the system could go bad really fast in that way, where you're doing the same thing over and over again and it loses its appeal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised they were able to do so much with orcs. I mean, orcs in World of Warcraft all look the same, but here you got fat orcs, you got skinny orcs, you got tall orcs.
You got
It's
creepy orcs that do a weird seductive shake at you, and you kind of stare at the
they got all sorts of orcs. How creative, I mean.
I also love whenever you fight a war chief, the chant is their name.
Oh yeah.
That's a really cool detail.
Oh God, oh God.
And like when you click on them and it's like Grimlock, and it's like it just gives you that idea that it means something. I don't know. It makes them seem more formidable.
So let's hear your arch nemesis. What was the orc captain or grunt or war chief that gave you the hardest time?
Me, it's like Shagflag Blackheart or something like that. He shoots a crossbow at me and I fucking hate him.
I think mine was his name was Mortlag the Cruel, and he was one of those like berserker guys with two axes, and he couldn't
Mm.
be jumped over, and he couldn't be parried, or well, he could be parried, but like you couldn't like attack him directly without him like immediately responding and attacking you, and he just kept killing me over and over again in the early game.
I think it's strange that sometimes you can kill them and they can come back.
Oh yeah, it happened to me a ton of times. Like Barfar Grog Catcher came back twice for me. It's like,
Yeah,
Well,
oh
he's
it's
shit,
like,
I
only
killed you
fair.
once already.
and they have like scars. He's like, "Oh yeah, you thought you killed me," and he's like got a scar on his face or something. It's like, yeah, I actually did think I killed you."
Well,
There was
it's
this guy
you
called
die too a
Krishna.
lot, so
Yeah. Well, you're. It's because you're like part wraith that you keep coming back.
Yeah, and I like how they mixed in that mechanic, right? The rebirth or the respawning mechanic that's in every video game, and they gave it a story like that, like kind of like Edge of Tomorrow. It felt like I was playing Edge of Tomorrow. They should have had Tom Cruise in in this game.
well, it's part of the Nemesis system too, because they'll be like, "What? I killed you? What the fuck?" Whenever you come back.
Yeah, that's pretty fun. So yeah, we're gonna save the spoilers for later, but I'm kind of curious to know how the game ends and what happens to our dear friend Talion at the end of it. Whether he was whether he defeats the Dark Lord Sauron. Spoiler, alert, I don't think he does.
I doubt he does.
Might.
Why did they give the ring to this guy and have him drop off in Mount Doom?
Because it would have corrupted him, Vic. Come on.
Oh yeah.
Well, no spoilers, guys.
Okay, let's see. So what are the other strengths of this game?
It's all we need is a Nemesis system and a smooth fighting
Yeah, that's
engine.
true. That really is the two things that I think define it. The upgrading for me, not to get into weaknesses, but like the RPG elements, I didn't think they were too great. Like things like getting the runes on your sword. The effects they had just didn't feel like they were that cool. It was mostly just stuff about like your focus and health regenerating. You could get the epic ones that did other stuff, but none of it really was that cool to me. And whereas the abilities you get are really good, but they're so good that it just makes it really easy, really fast when you get a lot of them.
Yeah, and the problem with it is most of them work in conjunction with something else, right? Like, oh, critical strikes and this happens, or, oh, when you drain, this happens, or when you do shadow strike, this happens. So earlier on in the game, they were actually not useful at all. There wasn't like one that just had like your weapon does 20% damage more. Most of them were like, oh, your weapon does this much damage if you're from above, or if you're from behind, or if you have streaks.
If you're
So
using this weapon in this zone and this orientation with this ability choice, you get the effect of some health back.
yeah, and now I have like five of every kind, so it's kind of like give me a bit more interesting stuff. Yeah, but you kind of have to then I have to do death threats, right? That's one thing I unlock, and then I shoot death threats to a captain, so they become harder to deal with, and that's when I get more legendary or epic runes.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah, so I need to start doing that then.
Well, I felt no impetus at that point in the game because the actual like ability system, the things you're unlocking there, and just getting more like elf shot and stuff made it so easy that my runes didn't matter.
Yeah, the ruins were kind of dumb. I thought it seemed unnecessary. I guess.
Yeah, it feel like they had the ability system. That was the first thing they put in, or an initial thing they had in the game, and then they felt, hey, we need to do a bit more. We need to. We can't just give XPs for killing captains. Let's do more, and let's do this rune thing, which is, it just feels very tacked on, right?
Well, I mean, it's not like a game like Skyrim where you get a new sword that's better, and you're like, oh, I can't wait to use this new sword I've got, and you get to see it on his back, and that's all cool. But in this, it's like, okay, I put a rune on the sword, great, fantastic. Who cares?
Yeah, the weapon doesn't look any different. It's not like glowing blue flames or anything like that.
Well, you can do the side mission where you can forge the legend of your weapon, and when you do all of those, you do get a cool like skin of it. It's like reforged or whatever.
Oh,
And that,
really?
yeah,
Okay.
that is a fun thing to do. Of the side quest content, I like those the most, where you have to like go in and like do a specific thing that suits that weapon type,
Yeah,
like
I've been
stealth
doing a
kill
bunch of
or
those.
yeah, I like those.
Oh,
I
I
like how his
haven't.
knife is just a broken sword.
Yeah, it becomes an actual knife, I think, later.
Well, that's stupid. Even a broken sword.
Well, you
It
had
was his
this.
son's sword, though. Come on.
So I actually haven't done any of the side missions because I tried doing them initially, but I keep dying them. My focus runs out or whatever when I do the arrow ones or bow ones. So I guess I need to start doing them because I think you get a lot of mithril. No, not mithril. What's the M?
Reading or something.
Metrodin, yeah, and that's what you unlock to unlock more health and focus and stuff like that, and also the flaming sword and the flaming bow and flaming dagger thing.
Oh, that stuff is so good. It's
Yeah,
so
I think I
good.
need to do that. I need to do a lot more of those missions.
I just want to mention this because I thought it was cool. Like, I was like riding a Karagor and I jumped off and like climbed up on a building, and then one of the war chiefs tried to like sneak up on me, and my Karagor killed him. Like, I had nothing to do with it. He just died.
It's hilarious how some of them die without you expecting it, especially when you get to Bran later. Like you're going in to kill this war chief, and you have his bodyguards on your side, and before you even do anything, like the bodyguards just take him out really fast. You're like, how did you guys kill him that fast? He's a war chief. Okay.
But it's neat that it like has its own like other than you stuff is going on, which I
Yeah.
enjoy.
Yeah. And I like the stealth mechanic in this game. It's not overly complicated. It's very simple and you can take it or leave it. Kind of like in Far Cry 3, like in other games like Deus Ex and Dishonored. It's important. I mean, those games are better like when they find you, it's not a total fail. You can still fight your way out of it. But in this game, it's nice. It's simple. It's the indicators are so visual. Like, oh, yellow, they detect you, or red, they see
Yeah.
you, and things like that. I just like it, and it took me a while to figure out exactly how it works. But then I started using it a lot more when I do strongholds, just to get those lower objects and stuff like that. Uh, it's
Oh,
pretty good. It's pretty nice.
speaking of the lore objects, why the fuck do I need to line up that little light to see them? What
That's the
the
thing
fuck
that's in the
is the
Tomb Raider game too. I don't know why they do that, where you have to like get that additional information by like rotating it around. I guess to make you look at the item more. So I don't know. It's just a thing.
Okay. If somebody wants to look at it, let them look at it. If they don't make them look at it. It's just so dumb.
Those are
No,
pretty cool though. The lore connected to those, I like how it's a mix of just a thing,
Oh,
and
I
also
agree.
like some event that occurred in proximity to that item.
Yeah, I totally agree to that. I just don't think I should have to line up a little purple dot to go through it because it's just a waste of time. If
yeah,
they want to show it to me while it's like loading the conversation that they have and I can like turn it around and look at it, that's fine. But it just seems so unnecessary.
yeah, it seems very tacked on. But this is how they should have done Grimoire cards in Destiny 2. If Destiny was a single player game, I'm sure they could have paused the game and then told us that Grimoire card, Peter Dinklage could read the card out. But yeah. I mean, they could have done that in Destiny, right? They could have just had, like in Diablo, whenever there are some audio files you can
Yeah,
find, and then it just plays while you just continue to play the game. They could have done that with Destiny.
yeah,
This
that would have
is
been
uh,
so nice. Oh, that is such a good idea.
compared to
one other
this
thing
game, that
about
game feels just so lazy now.
one other thing I like better about this game than I do a game like Destiny is the no loading time. It seems like everything is just happening.
Oh yeah,
Do
yeah,
you know what I mean?
that's
Like, I get it. It's a smaller atmosphere. They don't have to do it. But like Destiny, you're just sitting there, like watching the plane fly. And it's
For
like, well,
like
that's
five
great.
minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you just installed 32 gigabytes worth of stuff on my hard drive, and you still need a minute and a half of loading time. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
loading is really nice in Mordor. I was surprised by how good it is. It really only comes up when you're loading a mission or if you're changing zones, but when you're just roaming the world, it never really happens. And
Right.
it's great.
And they give you something really quick to read while it's loading up, like in between the mission. Like you got to read what the mission is, and they like load it up while that's there. So it's
Okay, because I've been playing this game on my computer, and my computer is really a beast. I had like
Yeah.
two R9 290 in there, a solid state drive, and it's really built. And so the loading screens are all small, short, and I'm like, okay, that's probably because I have a beast. So, but no, the game is so well made that even on a PS4 and other stuff, the loading times are very less.
Yeah, it's optimized really well.
yeah.
Going back to the stealth, though, I agree with you a lot about that. I think that it's really good that the failure states that are kind of mandatory only really come in when you're trying to like forge the dagger and stuff, where it's side content. And even when there are failure states, most of the time it's a thing where you have to stop the
Bonus.
guy from setting off the alarm. And I like that idea a lot. I like that I have to kill that guy. It makes me feel like like Legolas at Helm's Deep.
Helm's Deep.
Yeah. I don't know, that's just a cool fun thing that I enjoy.
I do enjoy the fact that you can just waltz in, like fight 25 orcs and win. It's a good feeling.
Yeah, and I did mention that it gets really easy later, and I that is in some ways problematic because it reduces the value of the Nemesis system, and I mean obviously the challenge kind of goes out the window, but at the same time there is that badass feeling of like I can go in here and fight 30 orcs and they cannot touch me. Uh,
Yeah, it's really, when you throw the stealth aside and you're just like, I'm just walking in.
Yeah, and that's a cool progression from you feeling kind of useless earlier on. Like I felt so impotent in when I was getting in those huge brawls, and I just couldn't do it. And it's cool to progress from that. I do like that a lot.
Well, I still run away. Actually, that's the new thing I developed is before early on in the game when I was trying to figure out, I never used to run away. But now, because I was worried the mission's gonna end and the war chief was gonna go away or the captain was gonna go away. But now it's nice that they'll let you keep track. Captain tracking even if you're very far away. So this time when there are like 20 or 30 orcs, I just run away. I try find a worm, figure out the captain's weaknesses, and then if it's like a stealth thing, then stealth on, then ninja him, or if it's a range thing, do
Ninja him.
a shadow strike thing on him, and I can just one kill war chiefs now.
Yeah, it's great when you get that captain who's vulnerable to range and you can just one shot him in the head.
Yeah.
I love those guys.
It's probably not really a big attribute of this game. I mean, the lore, but I don't want to give it too much because it's Lord of the Rings, right? I mean, the credit goes to Tolkien and not these guys, really. Uh,
Well, I mean, it's Tolkien's world, but they kind of developed the whole plot because it really has not much to do with Lord of the Rings in general.
And I was surprised how good they did of making the lore of a place like Mordor really interesting. Like, if you had to pick a place in the world you'd want to learn about in Lord of the Rings or Middle Earth, it probably wouldn't be Mordor. Like, that was one of the things that I was kind of turned off to when I first heard about it. I was like, the whole game is in Mordor? Well, I don't care about that, but you get a lot of the cool stuff about the various forms of corruption there, and also like the Sea of Nirnan and those people. Um, and there's a lot of cool stuff in there that they did a good job developing, and the presentation in keeping with comparisons with Destiny is so much better. Just learning about it through like having discussions with Celebrimbor or collecting those artifacts, I think is
Yeah,
a great way to present it.
I think they did a
yeah,
really good
that's
job with that.
true. Yeah, yeah. All
And I
these,
mean,
all so Brett, you are our Lord of the Rings expert here. So
okay.
all these black captains. Yeah, what's it? The Tower of Tower of Sauron. No, is it?
The Black
Uh,
Hand, is that
the
what you mean?
the
Like the
Black Hand. Yeah,
The Hammer of Sauron, the
the
Black Tower,
Hammer of Sauron, the Tower of Sauron.
the
I,
Tower.
I'll say
Are they real characters in
the
this?
mouth is a real character, but the rest of them I think they kind of just made up for the game. But I'm cool with it because they made them make sense as far as I've seen it anyway. The one part I don't really get, it's not really a spoiler because it happens right at the beginning of the game, but when they're like when they kill your guy to bring the Elf Lord back. I mean, maybe it explains this later, but why would they ever want to bring him back unless like
Right,
maybe they're
right.
trying to figure out how to forge a new ring?
Ah, okay.
Well, I guess we'll go into
We'll go
spoilers.
into that in spoilers. I'm
Spoil.
sure, like I said, they'll probably get into it in the game because otherwise it wouldn't make sense.
There's a
but-
reason why, I'll say.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I am wrong. I think we have to give credits, or I have to give credit for the lore because it does seem very seamless. If, as you guys say, a lot of it is made up by the studio, then it just feels so seamless that I can't tell where is Tolkien, where are these guys? I
it,
think
it
the guys
helps
who wrote this game probably really love the series.
probably. It helps that it's in Mordor and we don't know a ton about Mordor, so it's kind of up in the air. Like they can kind of make what they want out of it.
Yeah,
Because all we see of Mordor is like Frodo and Sam stumbling through.
What my one, my one minor nitpicky gripe sorry, I was just laughing at that. My nitpicky gripe about the presentation is that how does Talion know about some of the stuff that he mentions when you're getting the side content? Like he knows about the Astari and Morgoth and he like remarks on them like he knows all this stuff and
Oh, I
uh,
didn't even know he knew all that. I haven't gotten that far, I guess.
Oh no, I think he's there's this one of the lore objects we've discovered is a ranger's tome or something,
yeah.
and that seems to be like the Cimmerillion of the rangers. So that seems to have all the
Oh,
lore in
is
it.
that it? Okay.
There was one tome we discovered, and I think it was Talion teaching his son probably, or something like that, and he's trying to teach him the word Fëanor, which is Celebrimbor's house name or Celebrimbor's
Uh,
ancestor's name or something.
Fëanor is his grandfather.
Yeah, yeah. So, and I just recently bought
He's
Cimmerillion, so I was looking it up, and one of the family trees is the Fëanor tree, so I was like, oh, okay, so that's probably they have Cimmerillions too.
yeah. I mean, Fëanor created the Silmarils, which is what the whole Silmarillion's kind of about. So he's a big deal in that.
Ah, okay.
And Celebrimbor is like the son of his son. So.
Let's not talk about too much about Celebrimbor. Well, if people have read Silmarillions and all the Lord of the Rings appendices, they probably know what Celebrimbor is. But when I found out who he was, it just blew me away.
It's interesting at the beginning. He like doesn't even know who he is himself
Yeah, yeah.
because he's like, I don't remember who I am, but he has all this lore he knows, which is weird.
Yeah. I like that too. We'll go into that in spoiler field. I was a fan of the reveals too though.
Okay, I think if we are done with the strengths, we could talk about the weaknesses, I guess.
I guess the biggest weakness I can see is just replayability.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, you'd think with the Nemesis system there would be replayability to kind of experience different orc things, but I didn't really feel it. Like, I mean, generally speaking, it would just be kind of the same sort of system. I think that it's kind of a one-off, unique thing, which makes me worry that I don't know how much staying power this system has if I played it in another game, for example. But I guess we'll see the future with that.
Yeah, I think it's nice when you're playing the game the first time around because you have all these unique characters and like you can talk to somebody else who has the game and they had unique characters, so it's like, oh, that's a cool name. But then when you play it again, you're just like, you probably don't even care because you're gonna kill them.
Yeah,
You
what
know what I
would
mean? They don't actually matter.
Yeah, what would have been nice would have been to have like a few classes probably you could play. So that way, now you try the ranger perspective, now you try in the mage perspective. But no, Italian's just all in one kind of guy. So yeah, that's probably why. If they had more classes, probably it would have been nice to have more depth. Or it also feels like the ability tree, right? You could pretty much
Right.
unlock everything by the end
Yeah.
of the game. If they had you choose a certain skill lines or something like that, that would have been better.
Yeah, I agree. Like to be fair, I did pretty much every piece of side content there was, so I had like a ton of the Mithril did and XP, so I did unlock everything. But I agree with you that I think that it could have been bigger. It could have been more like different options and trees there. And there's a lot of stuff there that like even if you didn't get everything, that just isn't worth getting. Like brace of daggers. Like who uses throwing daggers? Did you guys
Yeah,
ever
I
use
right?
never
that?
have.
Yeah, because I think the animation for it just takes so long
Yeah.
and you just throw one out of it. You could be, it's not as fluid as anything else. Like the bows, by the time you take the bows, you could have killed three orcs by the time you do one dagger throw or
Right. And the
something.
dagger doesn't even kill them.
I feel like that's the problem with, like, they have this nice tight storyline and it's very linear, so it's gonna be hard to have good replay value with that kind of model.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's probably the weakness because I was my the way the game kind of annoys me is probably the missions that progress the story, the yellow ones. And I recently did the Grog mission with Torvin the dwarf, and it was so scripted, right? If you did not shoot the Grog at the right part of the sequence, it wouldn't do any damage, and then all the quick time button
Yeah.
stuff, it just was so annoying.
Yeah.
And it's like totally opposite to the game. The entire game's about you do whatever you want, man. You kill these guys however you want. And here it comes. No, you have to do it exactly this way, otherwise you won't get to play. It's like what?
That's probably the biggest weakness for me is the boss fights. Hopefully this doesn't constitute a spoiler, but throughout the game, pretty much the boss fights are really weak. And I think that's because of the fact that it's built around these encounters with lots of enemies. That's where the game is. So that it couldn't really adapt that system to function as cool boss fights, though. The Batman series does a really good job with those, and it kind of fell flat here. And there's a lot of quick time events and stuff like that too. So that was a weak spot.
Yeah, it's just that the strengths and weaknesses that could have been varied a bit more. Maybe that the pool for that is probably a bit less. Uh, but most of the time, it's always the same. The bosses are immune to or can be killed with combat finisher, or at least have one of those things. So, uh,
I'll say another negative in the battling is when you're about to die or you're trying to get on a Karagor or the other things that walk. Like the whole, you gotta push the thing into the circle and press the button.
oh yeah.
That I'm kind of just like, all right.
Yeah, those are the quick time events. Those are pretty weak. I agree. They're kind of weird, and that's just a thing that happens in modern games.
Yeah, it just
Those
seems so
stuff.
forced. It's like, all right.
Yeah, that mechanic is definitely a quick time events. I think the only place I enjoyed those is probably the Walking Dead series by oh crap, I forget the studio's name. Wild something? They are the guys who are gonna make
Telltale,
Telltale, right? They're gonna make the new Lord of the Rings. Oh, sorry, Game
Game
of
of Thrones.
Thrones
Yeah.
ones, which is gonna be good. But they are the ones where it kind of makes sense. Otherwise, the quick times events, please don't have it in your game, please, developers, if you're hearing this.
There, David Cage games like Heavy Rain or what is it, the Ellen Page one? Beyond Two Soul. Those are I like those but the game is really not about the gameplay and that kind of those kind of games. It's all story.
Yeah.
Which I feel like this game is kind of a good mix of story and gameplay. To
Yeah, the
me.
story isn't anything special, and the story systems aren't anything special. Like you say, it's very linear. It just kind of happens in cutscenes and discussions as you're doing stuff. But it still has that cool, like, epic feel, and it's fun. It's fun. It's a fun story.
And it might
Unlike
just be
Destiny.
because, if you're into Lord of the Rings, yeah, if you're into Lord of the Rings, it's like, oh, this is cool, like stuff. Even though it's not canon, it's still fun to learn.
Yeah, it's super fan servicey, and maybe this is the point where we do make the transition and talk some story.
So we're gonna go take a break and we're gonna come back and we're gonna do a spoiler-filled discussion. We're gonna talk everything about the story, reveal everything that we know of at least. And so listeners beware. So yeah, let's do the spoiler-filled stuff. Yeah, Celebrimbor, man, the guy forged the ring. That's so awesome. He's now like my new favorite character after Aragorn. No, Aragorn's done. Get lost. Celebrimbor. I never knew I was gonna like an elf so much. I mean, come on, elves.
Yeah, well, he's a dick, to be honest. He's like
That's true. That's true.
but getting those cutscenes where like you're picking up the different artifacts and like forged things, and you get the moments where you see him forging the rings and kind of encountering Sauron. They're pretty sweet. They're really good cutscenes, and it's just a really cool like reveal. Like, oh my god, it's the thing, it's the rings, and it's just a fun moment.
So, Brett, so Celebrimbor didn't have anything to do with the One Ring, right? But here in the game, they show him chiseling the One Ring.
I think he did help out in making it, but like Sauron had nothing to do with the three elven rings, but
Right.
Celebrimbor might have helped him in crafting his ring. Not
Yeah,
not
I think that
positive, obviously.
I don't know for sure in the actual lore, but the way it works in the game is that he helped him forge it and forge all the other rings, like the rings of man and stuff. But then in secret, he forges the three elf rings, and
Yeah,
we get that in the game a little bit.
because the
Um,
elven rings were never touched by Sauron. That's why he couldn't see into
yeah,
their minds and
right.
corrupt them.
So the thing that happens later on, if you guys don't mind me saying, is like there's like the final cutscene with him and Sauron is like it looks like Sauron is mind controlling him into like making the One Ring better or something, like upgrading it. I don't know. It's like in Doom,
He's
and
putting runes on it, so he gets 15% extra damage when he hits enemies from behind.
yeah, and Sauron's like in his elf form, and it seems like he's like controlling Celebrimbor, but then all of a sudden Celebrimbor like looks up and the ring starts glowing. Instead of red, it glows blue, and he takes control of it and starts slaughtering a bunch of orcs in like the Second Age final battle kind of scene. And but then he gets up to Sauron, and the ring betrays him and goes onto Sauron's hand, and he kills Celebrimbor with a really brutal scene with a pick, and yeah, that's pretty much how it goes.
I got that scene, the scene where he retrieves the chisel. So I haven't seen the part after that. I guess I just saw it ended with him chiseling the ring. So that's what happens after it. It glows blue. That's pretty cool.
I don't think any of this actually happens in lore, but it was pretty fun.
Well, that's what
Yeah.
happens when you don't sell rights to Silmarillion to anyone. That's what happens.
Well,
They make their own shit up.
well, it's not like that stuff's in the Silmarillion. It's very Silmarillion's not even it doesn't have much to do with the rings at all. Like it has to do with the Silmarils and
Yeah.
a lot of before man were even there, and
Mm.
even when man comes, they play a really small role.
Um, the thing I was going to mention earlier, kind of side thing, is that I love the idea that all the artifacts and the like Ithilden and stuff are marked as appendices. I don't know. That was just a funny thing.
Yeah, I
Kind
like doing that because I couldn't do the sword quest and the bow quest and other ones because it's just a bit hard for me to complete. So I was basically farming the artifacts, and that's where I use the stealth moves because some of the artifacts are in the strongholds, and I was avoiding them. Like, oh, I can't take on 20 orcs at once, but because of that, I had to like be very stealthy and take out the
yeah.
archers and sneak in and all that.
The payoff on the Ithilden's pretty weak. It's just like you build the picture of the life of Celebrimbor, I guess, and
That's it. I kind of start seeing the picture. The middle part's becoming a bit more clear now, and it's just him. So yeah, I know this already.
I can't remember exactly what it says. Like he kind of recites the story, or you can read it. But yeah, it's about him.
Oh, you get an audio clip when it's all done.
You get an audio clip of it in like Elvish, so you can't tell it. You can translate it and see it in text.
All right, I got a thing like on the death of Celebrimbor. You guys want me to read it?
Go for it.
Go.
All right. Celebrimbor was captured at the siege of Eregion and was forced under torture to disclose the whereabouts of the 16 rings, but he would not reveal the whereabouts of the 3 elvish rings. Sauron captured the other rings and used them as instruments of evil in later years, particularly against men. Celebrimbor died of his torment in SA 1697.
Second
The
Age.
Second Age, thank you. The last direct descendant of line of Feanor. His body, shot with arrows, was hung upon a pole and carried by the forces of Sauron as a banner as they assaulted the elves.
Wow, that's brutal.
I mean, it's fairly consistent with that. There's some more stuff with the One Ring that comes in the game.
So Zach, we're all ears. How does the game end? Is the Black Hand really Sauron himself?
Well, so here's what happens. You get to the end of the game and you first fight the Tower of Sauron, which is actually, I mean, it's a short as hell fight, but it's kind of fun. Like you have to beat him by stealth and he kind of pops around. That's a fun one. But then you get up to like you're climbing like the Black Gate and then you end up at Barad-dûr somehow. It's kind of weird how it all ends up. And you fight the Black Hand there, and basically what happens is he cuts his throat again, so he starts pulling Celebrimbor into him. And when Celebrimbor goes into him, he becomes, I guess, Sauron. So the theory goes that, or the idea is that he doesn't need the One Ring to take a corporeal form. He can also use the Forger of the Rings to do that.
So the
Oh,
soul of
wow.
an elf.
The soul of the elf who forged all the rings, I guess, is the idea. And you fight him really fast and you beat him, and at the end of the game, it's this really ominous thing where I guess Talion's not really dead and he's looking with these really brutal eyes and he's like planning to forge a ring of his own, I guess, or something. Like
Oh, wow.
he's like been corrupted, I guess, like like Nazgul. That's the idea of it. But it's pretty cool because it's kind of built upon the idea that he's been corrupted by this whole concept of branding and taking control
Mm.
that you get in the second half. It kind of builds off that, and I like that.
Yeah,
Man, well, sorry, when it first started out and they were just like sliced his son's throat, and I was like, holy shit. It's very business as usual about it too.
so that's very cool. So what happens when Celebrimbor gets sucked up by the Black Hand? Does Talion loses all his powers and abilities now?
Well, the boss fight resolves and very quickly. It's like a quick time event, so you don't really get to experience that.
Oh,
Basically,
okay, okay.
when the
It's
soul
not.
gets sucked out, he starts bleeding from his wound in his neck, because it comes back, but he doesn't die, and he fights him off, and like Celebrimbor's like helping him out, holding Black Hand back from taking control or whatever, and it
Okay.
just resolves pretty fast.
Okay, that still sounds cool. Yeah. So it does feel like they are setting things up for a sequel now, right?
That's one or DLC or something, I guess.
Okay.
I suppose if they made a sequel and they just had it like set after the Lord of the Rings books, they could do whatever they wanted, couldn't they?
I mean, this kind of explains it because Celebrimbor is now gone. All the powers are reset, and when a sequel comes on the next game,
Well,
you
no,
start from
Celebrimbor
level
comes
one
back.
again. Oh, it comes
Celebrimbor goes
back.
back into him, yeah. So I
Oh,
don't know.
okay. Because this is what they try to do in the God of War series, right? I mean, the game starts, they reset Kronos. Is it? No, crap.
Oh, that's right, Chronos. That's right.
Kronos, right? Okay, I thought Kronos was the name of a titan or something. But Kronos gets
It
reset
is.
back to a level one character, and he has to find his abilities again. Yeah, it's this universe is very fluid with that you can do all those kinds of stuff. Oh, the bridge's gone now. You start from scratch.
Hmm.
Let's see, what else can we discuss?
What do you guys think of Smeagol being in this game? What did you make of that?
Yeah, right. Again, super scripted setting thing. You have to go walk this place and all that. Well, it's actually not as scripted as the other one. So actually, I did not mind doing all the Smeagol stuff.
I've only seen him once so far, so I don't really know what his end game is. Like you corner him in a cave. That's all I've seen him, and he actually sees Celebrimbor, which is cool.
Yeah, all he really is to help you find artifacts and his whole connection with the ring. Uh, None of it I think is too interesting, but it's fun. I mean, it's a fan servicey thing to have someone from the movies. And the other one, again, I don't want to spoil it for you, Brett, but
I'm
when you get to
okay.
this,
Don't worry about
okay,
it.
but when you get to the second half, you encounter this queen of the Nirn who's having visions, and she's all very decrepit and in a bad state, and you find out that she's being controlled by Saruman, like Theoden,
Yeah,
which
that was
I
pretty cool. Yeah.
yeah, and that was fun to
Hmm.
like get him out of there. But it was funny because I actually predicted that. I was like, wait, she's all fucked up like Theoden.
Oh, you
I
did?
must be
Okay.
Saruman. And I was happy to have my random prediction proven true.
Oh, well, I didn't see that. I mean, she was all old and decrepit, but I couldn't make out her age. Maybe she was that old. But I did know something was going on. I probably thought uh, Sauron was manipulating her, not Saruman. But then again, when it happened, oh, Saruman, you do it again, or there you go again.
Well, his idea there, and this is all kind of based off the movies more than the book, is that he's gonna stop Sauron early on by controlling all the orcs, which you end up doing instead.
Which I don't know how I feel about the whole controlling of the orcs thing as far as the lore goes. I don't care personally, but I can see why a lot of people would be turned off by that because it doesn't gel with the books. Like the whole magic, whenever they do magic in Lord of the Rings games, the purists are like, this is stupid. This would never happen, just because that's not the way magic works in Middle Earth books. So I can see why some people who are purists would be upset, but I don't. I like changes.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing special. I think it does create a cool little narrative within the game. for Talion kind of just being corrupted by that. That's pretty much all I have lore-wise on the whole controlling the orcs thing.
Yeah, I mean it's not that bad. All the magic does is let you do better crits and kill streaks and all that stuff. So yeah.
I mean, gameplay-wise, the branding is so good because at the end of the game, you kind of have, if you do it like you control a lot of stuff, you get all of those guys to help you, like storm the beaches or whatever, and they just annihilate everything. If you are like me and you took control of like basically every orc in the zone. So.
Yeah, I was trying to do that, but I found that you get less XPs when you brand orcs versus scaling them, like almost like at 1/3 less. So
I
I
had so much XP at that point, it didn't matter.
yeah, but I still have the last row of abilities to unlock. I still have like a ton of abilities to unlock now. So I'm still farming for XP. I wish this game had bounties in it where I could kill mages and collect moon shards so I can
Yeah,
farm
that'd be great.
XP.
I feel like the scope of the game is pretty narrow, which is the downside of it. But I think they did a good job at making the game fun and entertaining to make up for the fact that the scope of the game is really narrow.
By the way, I have to apologize. It's actually Kratos is the name of the God of War main character.
Right, right. Kronos is actually father of Zeus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kratos. Got it. Thank you for correcting that.
Do we care at all about Talion as a character? Or is he just kind of like the guy, the super badass dude with a cool voice?
They killed off his family right away, so it's like it's just a revenge story at that point, basically to me. So him as a character, he doesn't really, as I've seen, he hasn't really developed as a character at all. It's just more you learn more about Celebrimbor than anything else.
More than that, right? I mean, this guy's actually sure revenge is one of his big motives, but in a way, he's also trying to get the curse broken so he can return to his family. So the guy's actually
My
trying to
family's
die.
fucking dead, man.
Every time he says, "How do I break this curse? How do I break this curse?"
And there's some cool moments in there of his kind of struggle between that and like Celebrimbor trying to like keep him around because he needs him. And there's some struggle there and him kind of like eventually succumbing to the idea of just being around and being a force as opposed to dying and seeing his family. That's how I read it anyway. And there's some moments in there of like when you meet Lithariel, who is the daughter of Marwyn, kind of a struggle between like maybe caring about her and Celebrimbor kind of having like the jealous boyfriend
Oh yeah.
moment. And the conflict with that is pretty good.
Yeah, I done that mission where he's retrieving medicine for Marvin, right? And Calibre was like, "Why are you wasting your time? I know who she reminds you of."
Exactly, yeah.
So, have you guys heard of the slight controversy with this game?
Slight controversy with this game. You're kidding.
It's to do with that stealth kiss/kill mission thing. I thought it was cute initially, the way they did the tutorial mission. They wove the exposition and the tutorial nicely together. I thought you learn how to counter and things like that by practicing with your son, and you learn stealth by practicing it on your wife. That's like a piece
Yeah,
of
but you
big
give her a flower.
flower, but everybody's like, "What? This? There you go again. You being sexist and all that. Women in this game are only there to get
Oh,
killed and
so
rescued and all that stuff."
yeah, that's what I read too. Mainly, I think the problem comes from Lithariel being like totally like put in the fridge kind of thing. You have to save her. So yeah, that is a problem. I mean,
Yeah,
I
like
didn't
that.
expect a
Yeah,
whole lot out of this game though. It's like the testosterone-filled Talion kind
yeah.
of power trip.
So the Blackgate thing. So is that part true? So the Rangers actually were holding the Blackgate until very recently.
I don't know how accurate that is.
Okay. Because in the movie we see it under Orc control and everything, and so in the game and they showed that the Rangers, like the Black Watch or the Night's Watch, were patrolling the wall. I was like, whoa, wow, they got pushed back so far.
I guess it depends on. Do they get into like Numenor and stuff like that, or do they leave that part out?
I mean, it's mentioned briefly in sort of like the artifacts and stuff. What do you mean though?
Because like Sauron, like the Numenorians showed up and Sauron just like gave up. Like he just like nope, we're done. I'm surrendering, and then they took him back to Numenor, and that's like when he did a lot of his bad shit.
Well, the question is, what is the power situation literally right before Lord of the Rings? Like, who has control of the Black Gate? What is the Mordor
Well, then I'm
situation?
pretty sure it's Sauron has control of the Black Gate at that point because they lose Osgiliath at the very beginning of Lord of the Rings.
Right. Well, this is
Like
like
in
a
the
little before
timetable.
that. The theory here is that that's all about to happen, and
Mm.
we're kind of at the point where it's starting to happen, where the orcs are kind of back in power,
Okay.
gaining strength.
So we Smeagol doesn't have the ring, so this is after Hobbit, but it's much before the Lord
I
of the
assume
Rings.
I assume this is after Smeagol's gotten tortured and they let him go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the timeline, I think, too.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but so it was pretty cool to see that the Black Gate was held by them and all that stuff. So yeah.
It
Mm.
also just made Mordor more interesting to not just be full of orcs and like there's like the slaves and like the sort of deserters from Gondor and stuff. It might not be totally lore accurate, but it was fun.
I'm
And
fine
so
with I'm fine with it.
and the thing about rangers, so that's what they did. Basically, rangers were border patrol police or something like that, or the Coast Guard of Gondor.
Yeah, I mean that's what they were even in Lord of the Rings. I mean, Faramir's whole group was just they were patrolling that area, keeping the bad guys out of it in
And
Ithilien.
and Aragorn's family, they probably also come from the rangers, right? Aragorn
But
is a
those are
ranger.
different rangers, the northern
Oh,
Yeah,
ones.
yeah.
oh,
Those are
I see.
different.
Those are
Okay.
the Dunedain.
Okay, okay, I got confused then. I see.
These are rangers of Gondor, though it's weird because Talion, like, I don't know if he's a Dunedain or not, because they say he's from, like, he's a northern, so I don't know what's going on with that.
I thought his family was living on the Black Gate, right? Or not? They
It
were.
is, but he's not from there. He's not of Numenorian blood, so I don't really know what's going on
His
with him.
wife is from Gondor, right? And they
I
flew
think
from
so.
Gondor, but this guy probably just came to the city and accidentally killed a nobleman. Yeah. It's a lot of open to interpretation stuff there.
For sure, yeah. Did you guys care about Torvin at all? I thought he was the weakest character, probably.
I don't know who that is, so I
I
guess I
haven't
haven't
met him.
been there
He's like
yet.
this dwarf guy who you help hunt the big monsters. Just the way he interacts with you is so generic and consistently bad. Like he's always like making fun of the fact that you're a captain, that you don't do anything yourself, and he loves hunting. He just keeps saying he loves hunting. There's like the first scene with him when you're like learning to hunt Caragor. He says, "Oh, I can't wait to hunt," and he just keeps saying that over and over again, basically in different ways.
Oh no, he did make a big impression, right? I mean, after Celebrimbor, nobody's actually talking to you and in your face like that. Everybody's like Ratbag here again, Marvin, Thorin's like in your face, funny, I liked him. I like dwarves.
What's weird is they keep making fun of how big his gut is, but he has a super muscly abdomen.
I know, I wish I had a gut like
Yeah, I
that.
don't know what that was about.
And after all the Grog missions, they do make a point saying, the dwarves are pretty stubborn, and that's why the rings couldn't corrupt the dwarf kings. Is that correct?
That's
uh,
what they say in the thing. Yeah.
yeah, the dwarves were made differently.
Right.
I could try to go into it. Just keep listening to the Silmarillion. You'll get it next episode.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Are you guys getting the DLC season pass and all that stuff, or you guys think you were pretty done with the game?
I'll probably get the DLC. I think that the game was fun enough that I want to play more stuff in it. Whereas
Is
with
that
like
just
it, go
more
ahead.
missions or what?
Yeah, oh, I should have had this open, but basically you get the trials of war thing right away. That's the one. It's the you can reset the world, and kill the war chiefs and stuff like that. But you have your all current abilities, so it's not like starting from scratch. They said there's a mission that's gonna get unlocked if you have the season pass, and then they say there's gonna be more missions in time and more runes and abilities to unlock. They were pretty vague. It's not like the Destiny thing is darkness below or something like that. So
The only game I've ever paid for more content on was Skyrim, and I didn't
Build a
even finish.
house.
I didn't do the build a house one. I did the vampire one, and there was
Yeah.
something else, something where you
Um.
go to Morrowind.
Right.
But I wasn't super impressed with them, so I don't think I'd do it again.
The only one that seems interesting for me so far with Shadows of Mordor is the one that I guess is gonna come out where you get it's like a Celebrimbor focused thing where you like fight Sauron stuff maybe within the flashbacks that we see sort
Oh
of that setting.
right, yeah, I heard of that. That sounds very cool.
Yeah,
Good.
that sounds fun to me, but none of the other stuff really so far. Yeah, this game did a great job of just making me excited for Lord of the Rings stuff. I think it was great for that, for sure.
Yeah, it was a perfect time for our Silmarillion cast. we did it to coincide with this game coming out.
Of course.
Okay, guys, thank you for joining us. You can follow us on iTunes, Stitcher, and now on Zune too.
Yes.
So yeah, that's where all the hip kids get their podcast from, the Zune marketplace.
Only hip kids in Seattle, apparently.
Kids in Seattle. Well, you can get notifications for new podcasts on Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr as well. That's it, guys. Join us again. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.